Israel has launched targeted strikes on Iranian positions in a high-stakes response to Tehran's ballistic missile barrage earlier this month, with regional tensions rising. Israeli forces report hitting precise military targets in response. Iran asserts its right to self-defense, stoking fears of further escalation. Welcome to our special coverage here on Qnews. We'll start off with Tehran residents expressing indifference as they carried on with their daily routines in the wake of an Israeli airstrike on Iran. Earlier today, Israel struck military sites, but its attack did not apparently target the country's oil and nuclear targets. As allies and neighbors urgently called for restraint, it was not clear whether the overnight strikes would trigger further escalation. Israel has announced striking military sites in Iran. That came as Iranian local media reported that, in return, its air defense systems have continuously fired at apparent incoming projectiles. Israel described the action as retaliation for what it claims were Tehran's recent attacks on Israel earlier this month. Iranian media reported multiple explosions over several hours in the capital and at nearby military bases, though there were no immediate reports of damage or casualties.
The Israel Defense Forces is conducting precise strike.
Iran has announced that its air defenses successfully detected and countered the Israeli attack despite the limited damage. The Tasnim news agency, citing an official, has refuted Israel's claim that 100 military aircrafts were involved, calling it an exaggeration. Iran's air defenses reported that Israeli attacks focused on military sites in Tehran, Khuzestan and Ilam. The Pentagon has announced that U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin received updates from his Israeli counterpart Yoav Gallant on Israel's strike on Iran. Austin reportedly emphasized bolstering U.S. forces in the region to protect American and Israeli interests and sought further details on Israel's response. American media, citing a senior official, have reported that U.S. President Joe Biden encouraged Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to launch an attack on Iran, aiming to deter Tehran from future assaults. A senior Biden administration official was also cited, saying that any Iranian response to Israel will have consequences. Reports suggest Israel postponed a planned strike on Iran after leaked U.S. intelligence surfaced online.
Reports have emerged suggesting that Israel postponed its planned strike on Iran following a leak of U.S. intelligence documents. However, an Israeli security official has denied any connection between the timing of the attack and these documents. The leaked documents, which surfaced on Telegram, allegedly detail U.S. Department of Defense surveillance of Israeli military activity, including arming aircraft with specific missiles and conducting espionage maneuvers. The documents indicate that on October 16th, Israel was likely preparing for a strike on Iran, noting the movement of certain munitions. They specify that Israeli forces have been training with ballistic missiles capable of being launched from the air, enabling them to strike distant targets without entering hostile airspace. Satellite imagery analysis revealed that Israel had moved 16 Golden Horizon missiles, which are suspected to be similar to the Blue Sparrow missile with a range of up to 2,000 kilometers. Additionally, 40 Rock's missiles were reportedly relocated, though their exact range remains unclear. The documents further indicate that the Israeli occupation army fortified 6 shelters for F-15 fighter jets at Hadzer Air Base, preparing them for missile resupply. In response to the leaks, experts speculate that Israel may need to adjust its attack strategies to prevent Iran from predicting their operational patterns. Despite these concerns, the Israeli official emphasized that the leaks had no impact on the attack's timing, clarifying that there was no predetermined schedule for the military action against Iran.
And for further analysis on the escalating tensions, we're joined from Beirut by Mr. Saeed Al-Quzah, military and strategic expert. Mr. Quzah, welcome to Qnews. First, now, what are the most notable international reactions to the recent events that have been taking place?
Hello, sir. What Israel have done goes in line with what the US have requested from them. They did so in line with the US telling them not to target or damage the Iranian nuclear program, and to avoid hitting oil facilities, and to have a limited reaction in order not to have an all-out war. Because any war which has Iran as part of it will necessarily have the US joining in and defending Israel. Of course, everybody condemns the Israeli airstrikes. However, there is someone who gave Israel, the US have given Israel the right to defend itself and to carry out airstrikes. And Israel, on the other hand, have targeted ballistic missiles and the sites of its air defenses, and didn't target any civilian or economic sites. There is a group of countries who side with Israel and consider Iran as a member of the axis of evil, and there are countries who support Iran, and there are a few, and claim that Iran have successfully defended itself, and what Israel have done is attacking the sovereignty of Iran. To each their own opinion, of course.
And so what are the next steps? What is the expected response from the parties involved in the current conflict? You've mentioned allies for Israel, allies with Iran. Are we expecting another step or a reaction from Iran? Further steps from Israel or their allies or the Iranians' allies?
Both sides, Israelis and Iranians, have shown or have claimed that they have won this round of war. The Israelis said that they have they have claimed that they have targeted Iranian missile factories, and at the same time the Iranians also said that they have targeted the Israelis' jets and have defended their lands and countered the Israelis' projectiles, and that the enemy, which Israel couldn't achieve their targets successfully in Iran. So both countries have claimed a victory in this. Israel says it's a huge strike. Iran tried to save face and say it didn't. And this is within the American scenario, where the Americans have intervened between both parties in order to have a calculated response that guarantees no escalations would take place afterwards, and that, as it has been said several times today, it's just a staged event between the US, between Israel and Iran.
Mr. Quzah, now, what are the options available to the conflicting parties, and how might the international pressure influence those options?
There won't be any reaction from Iran, and this is what I think, and that will be it. There will be more negotiations, which already are taking place in Oman and in other countries. The American under the American Secretary of State and the Iranian Foreign Minister, they both made some moves in order to exert the diplomatic efforts to that satisfy both sides. As for the front in Lebanon, the war still continues. Also, the war still continues in Gaza. Gaza has been completely destroyed, and the fighting may not continue there because there are no more fighters on the ground to combat or resist the Israeli, the IDF. As for Lebanon, there is an organized destruction of the Lebanese villages and towns, especially on Al-Baqa side, and they are targeting Hezbollah. The fighting in Lebanon won't be easy. The war might continue for a longer period of time until a satisfactory result is reached for both sides. We don't know for how long the war will linger in Lebanon. There are massacres that being done in the southern areas of Lebanon, because most of the villages in the southern of Lebanon and South Lebanon have been destroyed, and because the Israeli forces have detonated mines in all the residential buildings, and this caused something like an earthquake.
Mm-hmm. Sir, now you've mentioned that the United States played a role in the calculated Israeli strikes on Iran. Now, what further steps that the United States can take to address the current situation?
From the very first day of the war, the United States has been pushing and pressuring Israel in order not to take this war to all-front war or to all-out war. The US have sent today some F-16 planes to its some of its bases in the Middle East, as well as B-2 bombers in order to defend Israel. It's a message to Iran in order to deter Iran from taking this any further and to discourage Iran from taking any serious reaction. What is left for the American administration is 10 days. What would they be able to do? Well, possibly pressure both sides in order to de-escalate the situation between the Israelis and the Iranians.
Well, other than the US, I mean, are the US efforts considered sufficient to prevent the escalation? Do we need more influence or more pressure being applied from the Iranian side by their allies or any intermediaries between both conflicting sides?
During the strike, it appeared to what seems to be a positive role played by the Russians. The Russians might play a positive role in de-escalating the situation in order to avoid having a direct confrontation between the Israelis and the Iranians. And that might prompt the United States to take part in this confrontation. In the coming period, the U.S. actions, what they will do is try to de-escalate the situation and diffuse the situation. The Russians have been playing a role from a very long time in order not to have any sort of escalation in the Middle East and try to play an intermediary role, because they are already busy on the Ukrainian front and they don't want to get involved more than this in the Middle East, knowing that Iran is an ally to Russia and Russia might feel that they have to support Iran and they don't want to do this.
From Beirut, Mr. Saeed Al-Quzah, the military and strategic expert, thank you very much, sir, for joining us. And Israeli airstrikes on Iranian targets has triggered widespread international condemnation, escalating tensions, possibly reshaping geopolitical dynamics in the region. Reports from American media have said that Israel's strikes included military targets across Iran, with planning intended to maximize impact. Reuters cited a senior White House official saying that Washington is fully prepared for any Iranian counterattack. President Biden has recently urged Israel to ensure its response is proportionate and minimizes civilian risk. Axios, the American news website, has reported that U.S. officials anticipate a restrained response from Iran to the Israeli strike, which could halt reciprocal attacks. Tel Aviv warned that it will launch a more forceful response. The strike will end the cycle of mutual targeting. Tehran has resumed flights after a brief suspension due to an Israeli strike on multiple military sites. A spokesperson for Iran's Civil Aviation Organization confirmed operations returned to normal at 5:30 GMT. Previously, the Aviation Authority had suspended all routes, and radar images showed planes avoiding Iranian airspace. For further analysis on the escalating tensions, we're joined from Beirut by Mr. Adel Mashmoushi, the military expert. Mr. Mashmoushi, welcome to Qnews. Now, what is the expected response from Iran if tensions escalate further?
My greetings to you, sir, and to all viewers. I think the US and Israel have successfully did this airstrike to Iran. Of course, the US have pressured Iran in order to accept this airstrike, and despite what some have said that this is a staged airstrike, yet I think this airstrike has started the Iranian defense systems and the factories that develop the Iranian missiles. This was an organized airstrike. I think destroyed a large number of Iranian air defense systems, and consequently this makes it easier for Israel in the future to carry on more strategic targets in Iran, whether they are targeting the Iranian nuclear reactors or refineries. But going back, Iran is not really defending, is keen to have a retaliation strike, because the Israelis are retaliating to the earlier Iranian strike to their lands. I think the Iranians will try to avoid being drawn to any open confrontation with Israel. However, this is not guaranteed. Maybe in the future, if the situation is escalated, perhaps Iran will be drawn to a full confrontation.
Well, assuming a scenario where Iran does respond to the Israeli attack, what specific actions might Israel take if it perceives an imminent threat from Iran? What should we be expecting?
I think Iran might, through its proxy in Lebanon, they might escalate the situation, because their allies in Lebanon could create more damage to Israel, however. And However, if Iran tried to retaliate, they would have announced that earlier. But it seems that they are covering up the damages that they have endured yesterday. They usually announce such actions through its president or supreme leader. However, if Iran have decided to respond to this, that will be through or by launching rockets to the Palestinian lands. They might reach it or might not, and they could hit their targets, or they may not as well. On the other hand, the Iranians had caused losses in the Israelis more than the Yemeni or Houthi strikes to Israel.
Well, sir, one final question. Excuse me, Mr. Marmoushi, one final question now concerning the Israeli attack on Iran, which targeted targets in or around Tehran. What does this say about the Iranian preparedness to defend its land? And I mean, because everybody was expecting a move from the Israeli side. So what does it say about the Iranian military capabilities and preparedness for any such attack?
The Iranians will deploy all possible air defense systems and all its weapons. This is one of the scenarios that the Iranians might use all their weapons to target Israel. Despite the Iron Dome, they might use ballistic missiles, and they might try to target THAAD systems. Iran will do their best in order to launch all their possible missiles in order to reach the Palestinian lands, but I think this will be delayed until the end of the American elections.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Adel al-Mashmoushi, the military expert from Beirut. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. And by this, we conclude our special coverage here on Qnews. But please don't forget to follow Qnews on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok at QNewsEG to stay informed. And for real-time updates, connect with us on the UMS digital platform. Watch it. I'm Henny Saif. Thank you for joining us.